Hey everybody, how are you? Welcome, welcome, welcome. So we are here in Puerto Rico and we're about to get rolling on Shanda on Demand today. We're going to talk about really the lack of courage that creates lack of engagement on your platforms. And that is, are we good, Faith? Yes? Okay, good. Lack of courage creates lack of engagement on your platforms. And so I actually probably will pull this over in a second to kind of talk a little bit through some of that. But first of all, say hi as you guys are joining in. We're going to talk about a really pressing conversation, which is how do you feel about this whole conversation around transgender, non-binary, puberty blockers being given to children, the pressure that parents are feeling that will I lose my child if I try and protect them or try and say no to putting a medication in their body. So we're going to talk about this topic. And I just want to preface this with, if you don't like what I'm saying, you don't have to destroy my page. And what I want to say to you is that I'm not interested in people bashing us or calling us names or getting aggressive on our pages. If that's who you are, you just got a character problem and you should go somewhere else, right? Because you can 100% disagree with someone, but if you revert to name calling and operating like that, then Faith will kick you off our platforms and say goodbye to you and block you. We're not interested in that. I think that's super immature, and I think it's a lack of character and taste. So it's totally okay for us to have different personalities and different points of view, but this topic, there's a couple reasons why I'm bringing up this topic around, these parents. I remember sitting in San Diego before we came here, and I was sitting at a table with this beautiful couple, and their daughter had started taking puberty blockers. And the conversation started with the mom really siding on her child's side, which I get. You guys can get that, right? Yes or no? Can you understand how important it is to not make your teen or your child feel like you don't support them? I mean, I remember my mom used to criticize every relationship that fell apart like it was my fault. So there's nothing worse than your child feeling like you're not on their side. So I'm sitting now, get with me here, get with the moment. I'm sitting at this table in San Diego, and this mom says to me, she's kind of justifying why, like what these kids are going through. And she's justifying why she is going to a doctor and they are contemplating the very big decision, which is, do I put my child on puberty blockers? So this, by the way, topic is being spurred from the new commercial that just came out from Planned Parenthood. And I had an aha moment when I watched this. And the commercial that came out basically said, and I'm not paraphrasing, that puberty blockers are safe and you can come to Planned Parenthood behind your parents' back and not tell them. Now, I want to ask you something. Put puberty blockers to the side, put transgender to the side, put non-binary, put all that to the side for a second. If we're in a friendship and you ask me a straightforward question and I withhold information from you, that to me is a lie. That to me is a lie. So first, my fundamental first challenge with this commercial is that when did it become okay to encourage the family unit to break up and not walk through the personal development that you need to walk through? I mean, I have definitely reprimanded my 7-year-old for things that I've gone back and had to say sorry. Any other parents out there that you're doing it imperfectly, you're doing it messy, your parents probably didn't do it right? Yes? Are we correct on this? 100%. And so there's grace for mess. And I don't know why it's gotten to the point at this point in our life, in our this time on this planet, where we are supposed to completely lay down and just give in to the pressures and the emotions that are going on with our teens. We're here to protect them. So I went to Planned Parenthood when I was a kid, and I got on birth control pills before I was ever having sex. And I thought it was cool. Lo and behold, I didn't know the damaging effects of birth control when I was 15 years old or 16 years old, whenever it was that when I went on birth control pills, but I just thought it was cool, right? Like anybody else like that? Maybe I'm the only one, but I thought it was cool to do those things because it felt like I was like a grown little girl. You know what I mean? And so the reason why I want to talk about this topic is twofold. First of all, it's a human challenge out there. Second of all, when people are not engaging on your platforms, you're not talking about things that are happening inside the news, inside the world, and probably because you're afraid, right? Probably, you get what it's hard to talk about these topics. You guys take a moment and just share this live with a couple people that you know, okay? Just take a moment and share it, because I think what puts the power back in our arms, puts the power back in our lives, is when we are willing to have real conversations and not have these surface conversations. Have you ever dated and you have that awkward moment or moments trying to like find who am I in this date? I feel like the world is walking around on eggshells, and we need to talk about the real conversations. So go back to the table, the dinner that I'm having, and this mom is 100% almost justifying, actually I would say justifying, her daughter who wants to take puberty blockers and how her daughter's under so much pressure now. And so they're really contemplating putting this medication in their child's body to block puberty so that this little girl can become a boy. Do you know, within about 15 minutes, that mom was bawling her eyes out saying, this is not what I want for my child. Okay, and it wasn't even about transgender or trying to be a girl or a boy. It wasn't even about that. It was actually more about the battle inside her heart, because she wanted to walk with her child, right? It was the battle in her heart on, do I give in to the peer pressure because every parent is doing it, and put a medication in my child's body? Now, I know people who are fighting, autism and adrenal challenges, and they don't want to put their kids on Ritalin, right? But it's almost like Ritalin's okay to not put your child on, but if you put them on a puberty blocker, or you don't put them on a puberty blocker, somehow you're a bad human or a bad parent. Am I right or am I right? Like, I am having all these conversations behind closed doors of these incredible parents walking these walks. And 10 years ago, nobody was walking these walks, not like this, right? It's become completely mainstream. It's actually so weird to be traditional. It's so weird for a woman to marry a man now and a man to marry a woman now. Like, it almost feels weird to be back to our birthright. Like, meaning that the way we're born, like we're getting so far away from how we entered this earth that it's like weird to be like who we are. Like, it almost is better to become somebody else at this point. So I wanted to address this conversation for a couple reasons. First, I completely disagree with Planned Parenthood, 100%. I completely disagree with them. And you parents that are walking through what you're walking through, like, seriously, I think it's really important for you to check your heart and say, at least I know this. And by the way, I've had many messages of people feeling the same way. And I had one woman say, what's more important? I get her point. She goes, what's more important, the child taking puberty blockers or committing suicide? And I said to her, I don't think either are okay. I don't think either are okay. I think that we need to get back to I think parents need to start having family dinners again. I think that people need to start spending time knowing who your kids are hanging out with. I think if your child is struggling with that, then you need to walk with them and not lose them. But I definitely don't think that you should put a medication in your child's body at 15, 14, 12, because I don't know about you, but I didn't know what the hell I was doing at 12 years old. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't know what I was doing at 12 years old. I certainly didn't know what was best for my body. And I remember my mom stopping me from hanging out with this girl, Kathy, who was sleeping with boys at the age of 13, and I was not. And I was starting to hang out with boys that were 18 years old at 12 years old. And thank God my mother did not fold to peer pressure or the mom or the daughter pressure, and took me away from that little girl, Kathy, which I fought with, I thought it was absolutely ridiculous that my mom would do that. But you know what? I didn't end up losing my virginity at 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I stayed safe because my mom made it her personal mission to keep me safe. And I don't know any of those people anymore. I don't hang out with any of those people anymore. And thank God I made it through without a disease. Do you guys hear what I'm saying? So I'm bringing this up because I wanted to basically voice my opinion on it, because I think it's important that you're strong. But secondly, when you're looking at growing businesses and you're looking at, like, obviously my business isn't talking about health or transgender or parenting. My business is talking about how do you grow your companies? How do you create? Everybody wants more customers or clients. Are you being yourself? See, I'm Christian, but I got Catholics, I got shamans, I got psychics. They all feel, if you don't know anything about Christianity, Christians don't go to Catholic or don't go to psychics, right? But I understand that world because I used to. And so we hold a community that's very clear that you can 100% be gay, transgender, you can be psychic, you can be Christian, you can be whatever, and you're accepted into hardcore. But do not for one moment think that it's not okay for us to voice what we believe, because either you're going to enroll me or I'm going to enroll you, but we're going to get better together. And I think this world has gotten so hell-bent on their way is the right way. And I really want you all to start questioning, where are some of these campaigns starting? Like, I want you to start questioning things versus going with the flow. See, I told my clients the other day, I said, don't use the word recession in your marketing because it's too late. We're in it. It's old news. If you're, oh, but one of my old clients says, but I just made $16,000 off of using the word recession. I'm like, that's peanuts. I mean, that's peanuts. Like, that's nothing. I'm like, because you're missing $80,000 by not using the word recession. What am I trying to say right now? I'm trying to say, get in the lead. Get in the lead, right? Don't go with the flow. Don't do, when everybody's like, when everybody was buying real estate at the end of last year, that's the last thing. This year, they're buying all this real estate. They're like, the real estate market's going up. I'm like, you're crazy. Everybody's buying. You're doing what everybody else is doing. Stop. All my weight loss professionals say, I don't want to sell weight loss anymore. I want to sell self-love. I'm like, you're in the flow. Like, get out of the flow. I know all the personal development, spiritual books have told you to get in the flow. And I understand what they mean by that. But I mean, you need to get out of the flow. You need to take the river that's flying this way and put a dam or a rock that starts moving it this way. You need to pattern interrupt and move things in a different direction. You need to know what your identity is, which is kind of what we're talking about, right? The loss of identity. Sorry that looks backwards for you guys. You need to know what your identity is, and then you need to be truthful and speak about it. And when you speak about it, you need to look at what is your hooks with this. Okay, and you need to not be afraid to talk. And you need to look like if you wanted to talk about, Kanye West and what's happened to him, or you want to talk about the fact that you don't like Candace Owens, or you want to talk about the fact that you think Planned Parenthood should not be having a freaking advertisement that says, go behind your parents' back. Like, who? Like, I get that some kids have got situations with their parents. I understand that. But why would you ever indoctrinate a group of kids to completely become estranged from their parents? Like, what is the motivation there? So you got to talk about these things, you guys. And if you think the opposite of me, you should talk about that. Like, you got to look at what's going on in the news, and you need to talk about these things because that's what brings some level of engagement. I hate to say it. And when you're afraid, if you're afraid to go out there and talk about these things, then you don't have what it takes to make millions and millions and millions of dollars. You've got to be okay, because the more money you make, the more people that judge you. Do you understand that? Yes or no? Go in the comment section. Let me know right now. Like, do you understand that? The more you're seen, the more people who will 100% judge you. 100%. The bigger you get, the more people you reach. It's like, if you've ever been in a relationship and you know what it takes to build a relationship, there's conflict there. Now, when you have millions of people or thousands of people or hundreds of people, that are watching you, there's going to be some challenges. So we have a leadership training, and we did one for teens, and I got a message that all of our teens wanted to put pronouns in front of their names. I said, no way. Not under our company. Remember, my core is I'm biblical. I don't push my beliefs on other people, but I'm not going to be part of spreading a lie. I'm not going to be part of spreading confusion. I see those kids struggling, and I don't want to expand that. Plus, when we're doing a leadership training now, if I had a kid that came to me and said, Shanda, I want to start a nonprofit for transgender kids, I would get behind that kid. But when everybody has to become a pronoun to be accepted, that's where I draw the line. Where do you draw your line? Where do you draw your line? I want you to go in the comment section, be brave. Where do you draw your line? What topic is it about? What subject is it about? Where does it become too much for you that you use a voice? I watched everybody get put in masks, and then I watched, countries of people say, I'm not going to wear these things anymore. And then I still see people wearing them. When I haven't seen any reports of people getting on planes and an explosion of COVID, right? Like, I haven't seen that since the masks have come off. Did I miss that news outing? Did I miss that? Because I haven't seen it. But I watched all of us go from being afraid to, like, as we kind of went along the journey over the couple years of C19, people started taking off the mask because they got tired, including my mom. My mom, got her shot, got her booster, got her next booster, and then she finally said, this is enough, I'm not doing it anymore. My mother-in-law, same thing, and then she got a booster, and then all of a sudden she's on heart medication, right? Didn't make the connection. She goes, that's it, I'm not doing anymore, right? So it doesn't even matter if you agree with me on that topic or not. I'm sure you've got science on both sides, but why is it not okay for us to speak? I'll tell you, because you're all becoming sheeps if you don't speak. The rich are going to get richer, the poor are going to get poorer, unless you're not afraid to speak about any topic. Doesn't need to be this topic, right? About any topic. If you don't have an opinion on this topic, or it's not really that important to you, then this wouldn't be the topic to talk about. I have a 7-year-old. I care about this topic. I think about my 7-year-old having children, and I think about that world. And if I don't speak now, what will that world look like? I think about the fact that I don't know, you should check your bank statements, by the way, your terms and conditions, and realize that many of your banks can borrow money from you. I have friends that didn't move to Puerto Rico because they're afraid of the Puerto Rican banks taking some of their cash. This is a real thing, by the way. Okay, it's a big deal. Put your money in and your money goes away, right? And so people are like, oh my God, this is still part of the United States, right? It's unbelievable. But the terms and conditions changed on many banks, and they're able to borrow your money and default on your money without having any repercussions. Did you know that? Took somebody pointing it out to me before I knew that, right? And then I went and looked at terms and conditions. They're like, shit. And so then people are in the high society or high wealth brackets are all messaging each other, what are you doing with your cash? People are pulling out millions of dollars slowly over the last 3 years, when the sheep and the public are just walking, thinking that would never happen here. Half of you don't even know it's even happening, right? But yet the wealthy have been pulling out cash for the last 3 years. You're like, where are you putting it? They're fucking burying it. Excuse my language. They're like, because they don't know, they don't know what's going to happen, right? You're like, oh, they're conspiracists. I'm telling you, they're not. They're just smart. Somebody asked me, when 3 years ago, when this virus took over, it's like, I stopped selling freedom. This is about leadership and your messaging, your engagement. Go in the chat if this is helpful, put helpful, right? Put helpful in the comment section if this is helpful. So when COVID hit, I stopped selling freedom and I stopped selling money. Why? Because I looked at everybody and everybody was talking about what they were talking. They were all on the same topic, rightfully so. It was a scary moment. And I started selling Take Action. You're all afraid to take action. You're all in isolation. I was like, what if we just took a little bit of action every day? And I started selling that, and our program sold out. Somebody asked me this morning, what are you selling now, Shanda? And I said, I'm selling smart now. I'm like, same business program, same products, but I'm selling smart now. Be smart. Do everything you can to only focus on money producing activity. What is money producing activity? I mean, I could tell you, but you could also sit down and ask yourself, what are the things that you do that actually produce money within 3 to 7 days? What are the things that you actually do that actually produce money in 3 to 7 days? What are those things in your life? Make a list of them. Make a list of things you could do that would produce money in your life. And it's critically important that you do that, because if you don't have $25,000 in the bank by the end of this year, and you might be like, oh my gosh, there's only 2 months left. Well, I don't know, but my clients know how to do that. They know how to do that. They have, in Mentor Me Live, they have 2 trainings on cash injections. If you don't have clients, if you do have clients, right? They know how to do that. If they don't do it, it's their own damn fault, because the training's right there. It's 2 10-minute trainings. In 10 minutes, you can know how to do that, right? So my point is that if you don't know how to do that, that's a problem. I wouldn't be wasting it. I wouldn't be wasting the rest of this day not knowing how to do that, because you need to be smart right now, and you need to focus on creating income generating opportunities for yourself. Why? And I don't mean the podcast that's going to take a long time to build. And I don't mean the YouTube channel that's going to take a long time to build. Those are great strategies, but they're long-term strategies, and you ain't got no more time left. See, right now, the market is crashing. And this is a good thing for people who have money or know how to create cash injections, because as the market crashes, there is everything's on sale. America, Germany, the UK, Canada, they'll all be on sale. They'll all be on sale. Right now, we have the lowest number of mortgages being pulled that we've ever seen. It's unbelievable. My point is that we thought 08 and 09 was brutal in the real estate and the business market. We thought that when C19 hit, that it was disruptive. No. This is going to be one of the best markets for getting ahead right now, and we're in it. It's not coming, we're in it. So if you're not part of a mastermind, or you're not focused on maybe you're in corporate America, it's time for you to start thinking about some entrepreneurial things. You either need to look in your own company. How can you become a linchpin? How can you become a money producer in your own company, even if you're in the admin department? If you want to get ahead and you're an entrepreneur, you need to focus on cash injections. You need to get rid of everything that you focus on in a day that doesn't create cash now. What creates cash? Customers and clients, lead gen and conversions. Lead gen and conversions. Lead gen and sell something. Right? You forget about this long-term, I'm going to grow this big thing over here. No, get cash now. Because the time it takes you to grow a business, it's a long run of making some money and then making good money. You need to make some money and then put it into investments and multiply. Because some of you guys are at an age that you're not going to see another market like this. Or you're going to be too old to even really care. Many of you guys are in a position where you might see 1 or 2 or 3 of these in your lifetime, because it's going to be about every 8 to 9 years. Why would you miss this one? So as I kind of complete Shanda on Demand, I just want to tell you guys right now, it's critically important that you talk about the things that are happening in the news. It's important for you to talk about the seasons that we're in. It's important for you to get urgent. It's important for you to not care about what anybody thinks. I personally think that this whole I feel like these kids that are walking through transgender and Disney putting transgender in every single video, I personally think it's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I'm not afraid to say it. You know why? Because this world is not fair. And I had to go through people telling me that I like bullies when I was a kid. Now it's like these kids don't have to go through anything, or they're going through everything. My point is, it's just such a freaking mess out there, and parents are not being parents anymore. Parents are now allowing their kids to lead them versus them being the ones that are leading them. So anybody who puts a medication that doesn't need to happen in a child's body, you should go follow Gary Brecka. He's one of 5 people in the world that work for insurance companies that can tell you when you put a certain medication in your body, that 100% they can tell you when you're going to die. If you take Oxycontin, that in 6 years and 1 day, you're going to need a hip or a knee transplant. They know. The insurance business is very calculated. They know that if you put in a birth control pill for X amount of years, this is going to happen to you. They know these things. If you take Advil on a regular basis, they know these things. Gary can take the last 2 years of your medical records and tell you to the month, if not the week, that you're going to pass away, or you're going to end up with a critical illness. Okay, so I share this with you because I'm like sitting there going, why would you ever do that to a 12-year-old that thinks they're in love with somebody? Do you get what I'm saying? Like somebody said to me, why does it make a difference if like when I was 16, I thought I was going to marry the boy I was dating. Many girls, you've kissed other girls when you were a kid. But when it is constantly indoctrinated into you that this is norm, let me end on this. The people that you hang out with, you will become, period. The people that you hang out with, you will become. And there is a movement on this planet that is painful, and it is hurting people. And I think that people need to stand up. And you parents who are walking through it, my heart goes out to you. It's almost like in every friend circle, this is happening now. And just 3 years ago, it wasn't. What sped this up? Maybe the fact that it's everywhere now, in the essence of it's on every cartoon, it's on every news channel. Do you know that in a school just recently, my girlfriend showed me that her son brought a book that was in the school freaking library of boys having sex with boys. Now, I don't know what to tell you, but I don't want my son even talking about that at 7. I don't want him to talk. He's not mature enough to talk about it at 7. And I definitely don't want him to be told that a man can have a baby, because I'm sorry, a man cannot have a baby. That is not how God designed us. That is not true. That is manufactured, and that is crap. Now, if somebody wants to be a man and go have a baby, I wouldn't not have dinner with him, and I wouldn't judge him. I would seek to understand. What I judge is the fact that we are normalizing this. And because who you spend your time with or what you read, we all know it. Harvard does not have a better education than UCLA. But why do you take your kid to Harvard? Because of the friends that he or she will keep. The fact that hospitals want to, well, it's not even the hospitals, it's the laws, right? That they want to not allow us to gender our children when they're born. Like, how freaking insane is that? It's insane to me. Like you were born with a penis or a vagina. If you want to change that, I think as an adult, you should be able to do that. But why would you indoctrinate that into children? Do you see what I'm saying, you guys? You got to be able to talk about these things. And I also know that if I was battling it with my own son or my own daughter, and I'm walking the walk with some people that I know in our community, and when it gets down to it, every single parent breaks and says, I don't want this for my child. And by the way, my child doesn't want this for them either. And so parents, hold on to your children. Watch what they're watching. We just took YouTube off our son's iPad. We just took YouTube off. And the reason why we put YouTube off is because it's so confusing, and he's asking questions that he shouldn't have to be faced with at this point. Secondly, we had a crazy man FaceTime my son and started saying some crazy shit the other day. And I'm just saying, these boundaries are just too gray for me. And I know as a parent, I'm going to keep my kids safe. And if my child, God forbid, like has a situation that he like, by the way, if you're gay, you're normal now. Like you're heterosexual because you're not the focus. And my assistant's gay and I love her and I support her and her wife. Like, I'm not standing here as someone who says that I don't accept that. I'm not okay with you pushing it onto my kid or anybody else's kids as normal, meaning that it's just not okay. It's not okay. If I was told that a man could have a baby at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I would believe that. And a man cannot have a baby. Do you see what I'm saying? So now I want to share with you, I am totally cool if you disagree with me. And I don't hate you for that. And I don't even judge you for that. I just think I'm right and you think you're right. And I think this world would do better if we could actually sit and have a glass of wine or a cup of coffee and not hate on each other. I'm sure there's things I don't understand. I'm sure there's things that I'm not facing. And I'm sure it's a challenging thing to walk for the parents who are walking teen world right now. And I'll be there eventually. But the reason why I don't put my child in school is because I can't control what is going inside his mind. And when I see a school like Encinitas, I don't even understand why anybody would think this is okay. That the school took a gay strip club, a transgender strip club, and endorsed these kids to go to a drag show. Like, have we gone completely cuckoo? Because when I checked, there's no way that my elementary school back in Canada would have ever, it was a safe place to go. Like, when was it okay? I don't think it's good news for a 20-year-old to go to a strip club or a 21-year-old to go to a strip club. But to bring your children to a school field trip to a drag show when men are dressed up as women and grinding on each other. And the new slogan is grinding is growing in California. No. That's where I draw my line. And so I don't know where you draw your line, but I will tell you something. If you are afraid to talk about this and other topics, then you are choosing to allow this world, you're a leader, to allow this world to become something else. And so it's like putting frogs in hot water. And by the time the water's boiling, it's too late. You got to speak up. I'm really thankful that I have a ton of friends and acquaintances that are on the ballots that never thought they would get into politics, and they're doing something about it. And so I'll end again on this. You have to speak about these things, you guys. And it doesn't need to be this topic. And you will get haters. You just will. I'm actually surprised I didn't see, I have a respectful audience. I didn't see a bunch of like angry people speaking to me, but I'm not like, you're going to get haters, just block them. You know what I mean? They got like, if they can't have a mature conversation with you, then just block them. Like, people ask me, what do you do with haters? Just block them. Just like the spammers on Instagram, right? Just block them and just be done with them. But, whatever you care about, if you want your platforms to engage, you want people to show up, you want people to answer your emails, you got to talk about these things. Now, my style is to talk about them where I give space to everybody else to talk about it. That's my style. My husband is completely the opposite. My husband is a disruptor. Know what your identity is. Know what God knitted you to be in your mother's womb, and be whoever you are. Like, my husband's a disruptor. So if he was leading this live right now, he would be a lot more offensive than I will be. I'm not a disruptor. I'll go head to head with you on any topic and not back down. But I listen because I just am a forever student. I love to learn. I love to understand perceptions. I have lots of empathy, and I'm really strong in my identity, and I don't waver from biblical. So I don't say like, okay, I'm going to apply these biblical principles to my life and not that. And I also know that's my walk and it might not be your walk. And I totally respect that. Like, I can't tell you, some of my favorite clients are like, one of them is totally into crystals and all of that. I think crystals are a dangerous game because they open up portals. She knows that I think that. She came to me not too long ago for deliverance because of something happening with her son that they couldn't shake off that spirit, right? But she's in her walk, and I don't judge that, but I also am not afraid to talk to her about that, right? And so like my point is know who you are and what you're leading. But don't be afraid because you're worried that people are going to judge you. They are. Like they are. I mean, there's people in my family that judge me. There's people in my family that I judge. I judged my workout trainer this morning. Like judgment, it just happens. We're human. We do it, right? Like it just happens. Hopefully we're mature enough not to take somebody down. Watch the words that you speak and know that every word counts. And every time you back down to not speaking truth of what you believe, I think that you become a follower and you become sheep. And as long as you become sheep, you will always be behind. Let me repeat that. If you have a feeling of feeling behind in your life, you feel like you're not where you should be in life, you feel like you should be further ahead by now, that feeling is actually connected with like you're sheeping it. If you actually look in your life, you'll see that you're operating like a sheep. And you could change that today. And you'll stop feeling like you should be further ahead. It's like that whole spirit of delay will lift from you. It's spiritual. That's why you can work really hard and still feel that way. It's spiritual. And so I'm just going to encourage you to use your voice in whatever area you think is important. And if you're a disruptor like my husband, then you're probably going to get into some fights with people. And that is your nature and what it is that you're put on this earth. You're a warrior, right? And that's not my role. My role is different, not because I'm afraid of it. I just don't feel called to battle like that, right? But I feel absolutely called to unapologetically stand as a traditional married woman who loves God. I don't call God the universe because I wouldn't want you to call me Tracy. You know what I mean? And I'm okay with saying that. And so I want you to say whatever's real for you. If you're like, I love my amethyst and I love, I had a full conversation with a friend of mine who is biblical, but is doing plant medicine. And he's like, I've gone to my rabbi and this and that. And I'm like, yeah, well, if they're saying that's okay, they've watered it down. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not afraid to talk like that. And I don't want you to be afraid to talk like that. And hopefully you surround yourself around people that you can be you and they still walk with you without talking crap behind your back. Because what people talk about you behind your back, unfortunately, they're labeling you. And that hurts your reputation. Remember that as you're talking about other people. It's so important to guard your tongue because you cast either blessings or curses on people. And I really encourage you to encourage other people to be themselves. I think that's the beautiful thing, at least about America. Canada is starting to lose that right, but I'm seeing them fight for that right again. And I think what makes this world great is having the free ability to speak about what we want. So this cancel society and all of this, it's got to stop, but it stops with us. Here's something the government can't control. Us. There's more of us than them. And if we can agree to disagree on some things, but find a point of intersection, right? Like you can be gay, transgender, and I can be traditional. And we cannot say, oh, I'm not talking to Shanda because I'm gay, or I'm not talking to Shanda because I'm transgender. Like if we can be like, no, like it's cool that like whoever you choose to love and sleep with, that is actually your personal that's your personal business. I don't need to be involved. And by the way, I don't want any of you guys in my sex life. So I want to stop having this conversation that we all have to talk about everybody's sex life or what they call themselves. Used to be punk rocker, preppy. Like, it's like these labels are unbelievable. We're human. You're a man, you're a woman. You don't want to be a man, you don't want to be a woman, whatever. But why do we have to be in each other's business? And why have we created a culture of needing to be accepted? Go to leadership. Learn how to be yourself and not have to apologize for it. So if you're transgender out there and you're proud of it, then go be it. You don't need to convince or spend your life trying to convince other people that you're okay. You're okay. And I'm going to be over here and love my Lord and be Christian and be an entrepreneur and be relentless in my fitness. And I don't need anybody to tell me that I'm too aggressive in life when I work 15 days a month. Like, stop. Everybody who feels the need to constantly be in other people's business, you're off freaking purpose. You got a life to live. Go push that agenda. And this thought that we have to have a conversation constantly about the identity of humans is just unbelievable to me. Like, get on to a more important topic and start living your life. Because once you are justified or accepted as a man, woman, whatever, non-binary, then what? What have you produced? Because I'll tell you this, nobody's coming to pay your bills, and nobody's gonna build your life. Like, what have you produced? You're distracted. Get off that. Don't let anybody distract you, and get on with it. All right, you guys, tomorrow on Shanda On Demand, I will not be on TikTok, but tomorrow on Shanda On Demand, we'll be talking about birthing books. And I think this is a perfect message going into tomorrow, because if you can birth a book, and by the way, you can do it in 8 weeks. If you can birth a book around a topic that is really strong, that book can make you millions of dollars next year. That book can make you $500,000 next year. That book can make you $3 million next year. But it needs to be around a topic that would create engagement. So tomorrow I recommend that you come on Shanda On Demand and come with me and Sarah, and I'm going to be talking to her about what topics really create explosions out there in the market. Why do some books take off and some don't? And I'll tell you the baseline of what I think is going to you'll start to see is that the person who writes it is more important than the topic. And the person who writes it, if they're distracted, then they don't have a destiny of power. And you have to have power in you to be able to touch something and it goes. And I suspect everybody watching the Shanda On Demand has power. And I hope that this live was good for you. And I hope that it gives you some, not permission because you don't need it, but maybe some thoughts or ideas about what you could do today to start to speak up about the things that matter to you. And if you lose your Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, then you freaking lose it. Then you lose it. Whatever. Like, then you lose it. All right, you guys. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.